Kathy says, my 9-year-old grandson does not like to respond to my greeting him or engaging him in conversation. His father or mother will then begin saying shaming comments to try to get him to respond to me and quote unquote, be polite. I'm uncomfortable with how he's being treated. And I want to say something to tell him that I support his choice not to speak to me. So where do you want to start? Do you want to tell me what you'd like to say? What would be most helpful?
In the moment, I'm in conflict because I see him not talking to me and ignoring me, and I'm trying to deal with my own sadness and grief and like how to respond to that. And in that silence, father usually will say, "Say hello to your grandmother, be polite. What are you doing? I'm going to tickle you until you say hello to her." And then I'm so uncomfortable. Part of
Yeah,
me wants to attack the father.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And part of me wants to say, Henry, to the grandson, hey, if you don't want to talk to me, that's fine. And try to hold that in my heart as truth. When
Mm.
really it's like, how come you don't talk to me anymore? We used to be such great friends when you were 4 and now you're 9 and you think I'm old and irrelevant.
Oh, that's what you're imagining he's thinking, yes?
Yeah, I don't really know what dynamic. And then another conversation is, how do I ask my 9-year-old, why don't you talk to me?
Well, so let's look at all of the different points of intervention, right? Because there's lots of places here. One conversation
Okay.
is with mom and dad. Hey, listen, this is behind the scenes, not in this moment. So we're not in the moment right now. So these would all be conversations you might have before the next moment.
Okay.
Hey, mom and dad, I just want you to know I'm cool with him not saying hi to me. If he comes over and there's something going on and he doesn't reply or he doesn't engage, let's think of something that we could just have a united front around. I'm okay with him not doing that. How do we want to handle that, right? So some invitation to reduce their anxiety that you might be judging them as bad parents because their son isn't behaving in a way that he's supposed to behave, et cetera, et cetera. So, and then finding out, is there anything happening before you guys come? Was there any context that I don't have? Is he like this everywhere right now? I'd ask for more information. What don't I know? Is there anything that I don't know that's going on? Or is it just when he comes over here? And is it only with me? Or is this a stage he's going through in general? I'd want more information. And I might also be asking the parents, what's it like for you when he does that? And what is it that you're wanting him to learn how to do? What are the values you're wanting him to have? How might we have that conversation with him in a way that honors where he's at and supports him in what he might be needing right now? So you're inviting care for the kiddo as well, while bringing in care for how it is for the parents, while bringing in care for how it is for you. We want to get out of the idea that there's good and bad behavior and that this child needs to be shaped into a particular kind of appropriate behavior.
It's great to start out with, I'm fine if he doesn't want to talk to me or greet me. And don't worry about my feelings. If you think I'm being offended, I'm not. And I think at least the father for sure, would jump in and say, well, I don't want him growing up to not be polite and not know social graces and not to respect his elders,
Right.
etc.
Then empathize with that. Pick that up. If the father says that to you, then make sure you pick that up and you get on his side with that. Yeah, you're really wanting to help your son care about the impact he's having on other people and show up in the world in a way that he's going to, be successful and have great relationships. There are certain relational skills you're wanting him to learn.
Yeah.
Totally with you on that. Yeah. It's a long game.
Yeah.
It's a long game. And if something is happening for him right now, let's meet him where he's at and figure out how to best support him in getting there. He probably wants to get there for himself too, but let's first understand what's going on for him right now. People go through developmental stages with this. He doesn't have to embody it at 9. So there's the before conversation. Another before conversation with 9-year-old that you could have. Hey, when you came over the other day and I said hi, and then you were quiet, were you okay? What was happening for you? I thought about it afterwards and I was wondering what was going on for you that morning. If there's anything that you want to tell me, and then I'm going to read his response. I don't know this kid very much, but there's a variety of things that could be happening. It could be, is there something that you're mad at me about? Is there something that I did that you haven't known how to tell me? So I want to check out if it's me, right? Were you having a hard day? Was there something on your mind? I want to at least express care. I don't need him to answer my questions. I don't need the information, but what I want to convey is some care. for what might have been going on, and that it's okay with me. My feelings aren't hurt that you don't say hi to me, but it does make me wonder if there's anything you need help with or anything that is between you and me. Is it personal? Was it something else? Were you just tired that day? I want to convey whatever the reason is, I'm a safe person to tell. And who you are is fine. And whatever was going on with you, I'm going to understand. That's what I want to convey in that moment. And I may also want to say, when you're excited to see me, you can show me you're excited to see me. And when you're not excited to see me, you can show me you're not excited to see me. And I will have accurate information for that day. So how's that as a start?
That's a start. I appreciate your saying I don't need him to respond because I don't imagine he would say anything back to me at all. He seems to keep his cards pretty close to his chest. And it also opened up to me the idea I sometimes feel like I'm a pawn, like his father's so controlling, and that if one thing he can rebel against is by not saying hello to grandma, then he'll do it. And I've been taking it personally, and he's just trying
He's
to
not.
manage whatever landscape of attempts for autonomy that he is. And I'm maybe caught up in the
Yeah. You're sort of fielding something that is probably happening before and out of sight, before they ever arrive and in the broader context of his life. And I love and really want to support this thing you're doing, which is understanding his behavior as an attempt to meet a need and getting clearer and at least curious about what need he might be trying to meet in the context of his life. And when a person feels like they are a pawn, I'm going to use the word you just used, that they're a pawn being moved around by other people, and they don't have any power, one of the ways we can get power is by shutting down. One of the ways we can get power is by resisting. One of the ways we can get power if there are no other options is by not speaking. So there's many, many ways that people will adapt to situations that are not meeting their needs in an attempt to meet their needs. And understanding it at that level, not as good behavior, bad behavior, polite, not polite, but really meeting the person where they are at with the things they are trying to get more of that are in deficit is going to be a far more compassionate and long-standing and relational response that will help that person grow on their own terms, at their own pace, in a way that is most in alignment with who they're meant to be in this world.
So when I talk to him, I want to express care just to let him know, hey, I'm not taking any offense. When at the beach you didn't say hello, I was fine with that. I noticed your dad and some other people tried to get you to do it, but hey, I was fine with you not saying hello. And when you're happy to see me, you're happy to see me. When you're not, then I'm okay both ways. Is there something, but I did want to just check when you didn't say hello, are you maybe mad at me? Have I done something that's kind of ticked you off? Or
Or hurt your
have I
feelings?
been behaving a way that is kind of off-putting for you? And because if I have, I'd want to know because the last thing I want to do is push you away. How's that for?
I love all of that. There are a couple of tweaks if you want to hear them.
Yes, yes.
Okay. These are
I
like
love tweets.
these are fine points, but everything you said sounds exactly in the direction that I would be going. Here are my two tweets. When you don't say hi to me, I'm fine with that. I might change the tone of that slightly. And in this way, I want you to have lots of freedom to show up authentically when you're with me. And if you don't feel like saying hello, that's good information for me. I do get curious though about how to interpret that. So what I think I might want to emphasize there is I'm not judging you for it. I'm not upset with you. I'm not angry. I'm not taking it personally. You don't have to show up in ways to look after my feelings. I'm the grown up. And when you don't say hello, it does make me wonder what's going on because I love you and I care about you. And I want to be a safe person that you can tell things to if you want to, but you don't have to. Do you see how that's slightly different than, that's fine with me. I think the spirit of it, I would just bring the spirit of that forward a bit more. How's that landing, Kathy?
Absolutely. I'm glad you caught the tone thing. And it's also the way you said it more explicit. It's that A, I noticed, B, I want you to have the freedom, which is not saying it's about me. I'm okay with it. as if, oh, you hurt me and I'm okay with that or whatever.
Exactly.
It's just,
Exactly.
I want you to have the freedom to be who you are, the where you are in the moment.
Yes.
And I also get curious because sometimes I don't know how to interpret it. Could mean maybe you're mad at me, but maybe it doesn't. I don't know. And
Mhm.
I just want to be a safe person. And that's, I think, what I want to say is I'm not trying to be your safe person. I want to be a safe person in the future. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, you know what? I think the two conversations we've had on the call today are really highlighting for me is that there is a difference when we give people feedback about how they're impacting us and we're raising their awareness and we're judging them. I'm letting you know what you're doing wrong. That is a completely different communication than I'm noticing the following things and I care about it because I care about you and I want to understand it with you. And I want to find out what there is here that I don't know that might help. Like we will have these moments. You're also describing a moment where somebody does something and we could have hurt feelings about that. We could take that personally and be like, oh, what did I do? And we used to play together and maybe I feel a little bit sad and maybe I feel a little bit disappointed. Like that's good information. But what I want to be very careful not to do in the next step is to hold the other person's behavior as like, you need to get feedback on your behavior so you can be different so that I don't feel this way. I know you're not saying it. I'm just looking at this pattern of like, when my intention is to change you so that I can feel differently, we are conveying something completely different than here's what's going on for me. I'm taking this data, these feelings I'm having as feedback, and I want to come to you and bring it to you in a way that expresses care for what is true, what is authentic, and I want to make myself as safe as possible for you to tell me the truth about what's going on for my learning, for my growth, for my insight. And the number one thing we're always trying to remove from those interactions is criticism and judgment. How's this landing?
It's a good, and I think on an intellectual, I know that stuff is a lot of work to do internally to just be okay, not be in grief, not be in a lot of reactivity.
I wonder if a piece of it is that we end up, what we're actually okay with is feeling the feelings. I'm being thoughtful in this moment about what do we mean when we say it's okay? I think what I'm going to bat for is like being able
Hmm.
to name behaviors that I'm doing or that you're doing. This is now in general. This isn't really about anything Josie was saying or about your grandson, but just I'm trying to just think about like, we notice something that's happening. This is the stimulus for everyone's feelings and meaning making system and reactivity and all the stuff gets stimulated inside of us, right? And when we want to bring that other person into the conversation, first we're having it with ourselves and with other people, and then we're going to bring this person in.
Right.
One of the key things we want to convey when we bring the conversation up to the other person is deep care and a desire for understanding. And I think one of the things that gets in our way is when we are still resisting the feeling, thinking we shouldn't be feeling what we're feeling, thinking they shouldn't be doing what they're doing, thinking, like Josie was saying, that she shouldn't be feeling what she was feeling. Like any idea that is not just letting the feelings move through the situation as data is part of what I think ends up leading us into more defensive or more controlling or more micromanaging kinds of behaviors, as opposed to just being able to relax our nervous systems and become fully present to ourselves and the other person, and then curious about what meaning we're making, how we got here, what would help, how they're feeling, how I'm feeling, and we slow it down. It's such a different quality of being that we're practicing our way into.
Mm.
How all those
Yes.
words. Yeah.
Yeah. That sounds like what the retreat is about, is getting
Ah,
that sense of groundedness and how to be with but not be overwhelmed by all the feelings that are coming through and
this is
letting them go.
I hope you're coming on the retreat, Kathy. This is exactly what the retreat is going to be about. It is about how we fill up our own buckets so that we have this resource available for the people in our lives, so that we can get the kinds of relationships that we want in our lives.
Yeah.
But, it's very challenging to do, at least it's almost impossible for me to do when I'm feeling activated, hurt. I'm taking it personally. I'm getting hooked. I feel like it's a reflection of me. I'm not being understood for the truth of who I am. Like all of those kinds of things are definitely my stumbling blocks. And so, yes, that is going to be a little intensive in like, how do we get really, really grounded in our goodness? It's such an important practice. So, and if you can't come on the retreat, we'll just keep talking about it on these calls all the way from now until then about getting grounded in your goodness. What else? What else is emerging in this moment?
There will still be situations in which I'm witnessing either of the parents shaming him. I have to say, I do get uncomfortable when in where people are being shamed.
So remember in that moment, anytime you're witnessing interpersonal violence, which is what I would call that,
Mm-hmm.
needed is an infusion of empathy. Nobody wants to be educated in that moment. Nobody wants somebody to explain to them what they're doing wrong in that moment. That is not the move. What
Mm-hmm.
people are needing, and you decide which person in this situation needs it the most. Me, I need self-empathy right now. I need a lot of empathy about how it feels to be in this situation. The person saying something and what needs are up for them and what tragic strategy they're reenacting and what empathy that person might really be needing, that they're doing this thing, or the person receiving it. As they're receiving, what are they feeling and needing in this moment? And what I really want to do in those moments is drop down and resource myself with as much empathy as I can for the players in the situation, and then discern, where do I provide empathy to whom and to
Okay.
everyone. But that's the move.
Okay. 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 I'll take off my teacher hat.
Take off your teacher hat and bring the love that isn't there in that moment.
Okay. And blow up my heart.
Open your
All
heart to
right.
all. And of course, like empathy is the one move, but I also want to just put a plug in. Sometimes the protective use of force is necessary. If somebody vulnerable is being actively harmed, we use the protective use of force first, and then we provide empathy. So, okay.
All right.
Good for now.
Thank you.
You're welcome.